Hello and welcome to Lois Ancestral. Today we're going to talk about the most dangerous human blind spot: misunderstanding responsibility. So to help you understand this concept better, we're going to look at it through an example. So I'm going to tell you about a scenario. A woman tells her friend about the abuse that she experienced at home as a child, and her friend responds in a similar manner to her mum who had abused her. So the friend unconsciously invalidates what the woman says about her abuse, minimizes it, and the woman is in so much pain that she lashes out and she assaults her friend. So as a society, we look at the assault and we say, yes, that right there, that's the crime. That's the thing that's bad. That's the thing that's wrong. This is actually a misunderstanding of responsibility. So what is the misunderstanding of responsibility? Common misunderstandings about responsibility are that in this scenario, the woman who assaulted her friend is in the wrong. She is responsible, only her. That's a misunderstanding. A second common misunderstanding that also applies to this scenario is that the person who was triggered by her friend, that responsibility is internal. If someone triggers you, that's about your process, that's your responsibility, everything is inside, no one can really hurt you. And so you are responsible if you lash out at somebody, if they hurt you, only you. It's your internal responsibility. That's a really big misunderstanding. So, who is really responsible? So if we look at the criminal, what caused her to respond in this way? Yes, she is responsible for the assault, but she alone is not responsible because her dad was violent and didn't take responsibility for the way he was affecting the family. Her mum was enabling this abuse in a covert, narcissistic manner. Her brother was also enabling this abuse by staying silent and maintaining confluence with the parents. Her friend is also responsible for responding in a way that's similar to her narcissistic mum and making her feel worse and unsupported. The friend's family are also responsible for creating that dynamic. All of everyone's ancestors have contributed and are responsible for creating this dynamic. So who is really responsible? Everyone involved. The criminal's dad, mum, brother, the friend's family, all of the ancestors, the criminal herself, yes, but not alone. Everyone is equally as responsible, because if this criminal had not been abused and if her friend had answered her in a supportive, validating way, she may not have committed this assault. So to say that the criminal alone is responsible for the crime is abusive, because that is overlooking all of the other conditions and people that contributed to this dynamic. Because how must that person have been feeling, and how unlistened to and how hopeless and how powerless does someone have to feel to react like that? But if a criminal comes forward and says this, yeah, maybe we hear it, but do we do anything about it? No, we put them in jail and expect them to be the one to work on it and reform themselves. But our jails are full of scapegoats who are not receiving proper therapeutic care and are instead being punished and judged as bad and wrong, when actually it's the entire system together causing these dynamics. And when people come out of jail and go back to the same environment, the same abusive environments, of course, history is going to repeat itself, because just working on one person is not the solution. So, what is the solution? Everyone involved taking mutual responsibility, because it is not the assault which is wrong. Nothing that's happening is bad and wrong. Every single person has good and bad and right and wrong inside of them. Every single person has a responsibility. The father has a responsibility for the way he affects the family, and this needs to be taken care of and looked at, and responsibility needs to be taken by him. The mother has a responsibility if she didn't keep the children safe. She has a responsibility about that. The mum has a responsibility the way she affects the family, and this needs to be taken responsibility of by her and taken care of. The brother has a responsibility about how he affects the family and about how he doesn't tell the truth to protect himself. The friend has a responsibility. The friend's family has a responsibility. Everyone is responsible for the way we are affecting each other. In this situation, the criminal, the scapegoat, has a responsibility, yes, but not alone. And it's absolutely useless and abusive in and of itself to place all the responsibility on the criminal, because it simply isn't true. It is as dangerous to isolate that behavior, shame it, call it bad and wrong, and stick it in prison, as it is the actual violent abuse. It's another form of violent abuse. So if we take mutual responsibility, partake in mutual healing, internal healing for each person, and healing between them in the relationships in the group, all of them, this is how we will see actual healing, actual improvement. Every criminal in our prisons represents the scapegoat or the shadow of society. They represent the child who was not listened to, not allowed to speak up, not taken seriously, not taken with sincerity. They represent the victim of the opposite spectrum of abuse. Yes, perpetrators of violence have victims. They are also victims of abuse that suppressed them so intensely that they became violent. Everyone in this situation has unmet needs. It's less about who's the victim and who's the perpetrator, who's right and who's wrong, and it's more about how are we all affecting each other and what does everyone need? How did we create this together? Because yes, every single person in that scenario and beyond created that. We all created that assault. When are we all going to take responsibility together instead of placing it on one person or one part, so that we don't have to feel the pain of seeing the parts of us that we've judged as bad and wrong, so that we don't have to feel the pain of recognizing that we hurt someone even if we didn't mean to. And it's not about demonizing anybody. That's my entire point. Responsibility is not blame. Every person is responsible. What does that do? It puts the power into everyone's hands to come together, look at what's not working, look at what's hurting each other, listen to everyone and value everyone, and be proactive in creating better dynamics, each person doing the inner work. There is a self-responsibility and there is a mutual responsibility, and one does not negate the other. Everything is all one, inside and outside. Therefore, if I witness an assault, it happened inside of me. It happened in a part of me. even if it's outside, in a friend, in a family member, I am a part of that. I am not to blame, I'm not the sole cause of it, but I'm also not absolved of responsibility. We all have a responsibility together in our human race, collectively, as well as the self-responsibility that we have. Everything is internal. It's not a bypass for that which is external and is also very much a part of us. That person hurt that person is not a bypass for how was that person hurt and what caused them to do that. They were not feeling perfectly happy and loved and just lashed out of nowhere. That doesn't happen. They do not have all of their needs met and just decided for no reason to hurt someone. That doesn't happen. That happens as a symptom. Assault, criminals, they happen as a symptom, an alarm bell that shows us, hey, this represents a shadow in the entire system. We need to look at this. We need to look at what's causing this. We need to look at our addiction to being good and right that is protecting us from the pain of feeling bad and wrong, of feeling unloved, of looking at the trauma in our own childhoods. We need to take responsibility for ourselves and for each other, with each other, and work together. I know that it can be difficult to look at a behavior that's obviously hurting someone and to see that with compassion. I know that doesn't come naturally to everyone. At the same time as, for me, I see that same suffering when I look at the people who contributed to causing that violent outburst or whatever it is in the beginning. It's the same. It's the opposite side of the same coin. So if we can look at all of that with compassion and recognize that we're all acting out ancestral trauma together and that we don't need to make anyone wrong. This is not an enabling of harm. In fact, demonizing any aspect of existence, the criminal or the oppressor. This is also not the solution. Responsibility is not blame. Responsibility is not demonization. Responsibility is a mature recognition of the part that I play and my power to respond differently, my power to swallow reality, go through a healing process, work together with others, and respond differently. It's only together that we can create a different impact. So thank you for listening and being here for today's revolutionary concept. I understand that it's different to our usual way of thinking and it may not be easy to swallow. So thank you for receiving my valuable perspective. I want to hear your valuable perspectives in the comments section below. I'd love to connect with you and for you to connect with me. I'd also love for you to connect with each other and find community. Let's talk about important topics. Let's connect with each other authentically in the comments below, or even simply just drop an emoji if it feels like too much, So thank you so much. If you love what I'm about and you want to understand more about the mission behind Lois Ancestral, then read the pinned comment. If you feel called to support my mission, then you can donate to my PayPal. You can also find that in the pinned comment and the description box. So thank you so much for being here, being brave, stepping into awareness. Take care. Much love. See you soon. Bye for now.